Hey guys, this is Gaurav. Welcome to SaaS with ServiceNow. This is my next part of ServiceNow Developer Training. In this training, we will talk about client scripts. Now, before I start my training, let me introduce myself. My name is Gaurav Tripathi. I have around 9.5 years of experience in IT, about 6.5 years of experience in ServiceNow Architect Solutions and Project Delivery. So today's topic would be client scripts. Now, in my previous videos, you must have learned about that where exactly we can do scripting in ServiceNow. And there were two types of scripting. One is client-side scripting and server-side scripting. And you also learned where exactly you can use those client-side and server-side scripting. Now, first place where we can do the scripting in ServiceNow is client scripts. So client script is a place where you can do the scripting. It's a functionality provided by ServiceNow where you can write the client scripts in order to do work on the form. So this is a client side scripting. This is not a server side. It runs on client side. So this is overall client side scripting. So let's take a look. What are we going to learn? What is client script? When to use client script form overview, use cases of client script. This is what we are going to learn from end to end about client scripts. Client script. Client script is used to manage forms and form fields in real time. It is executed on the browser. We already talked about client side scripting. It's quite similar because it will run on client side. And if we talk about the client side scripting, the major thing or major functionality which you will think in your mind would be client script. And if you get your any requirement which has to be there with the client side, then you will always think of client's script. There are other places as well where you can do client side scripting, but majorly you will think about client script. So you can see the client script form. We will see it later that how exactly you create client scripts and how exactly it runs on your ServiceNow system. When to use client script. Now, these are some examples which shows when exactly you should think of writing a client script. For example, show the alert when form loads. So as an example, your ServiceNow end user opens the incident form. So when he opens the incident form, if you want to show some alert, then you can use client script. Show a message when a field value changes. In ServiceNow or maybe on incident form, if you're changing a field value, when you want to show some message, then you can should write client script. Change a field value when another field changes on the form. That is one of the example. Hide and show choices of a field. If you want to show or hide some choices on the form, then you should write client script. And hide or show a section. So you have tabs on incident form or change form, any form. If you have tabs or you also call sections, you can, if you want to hide or show on some conditions, then you should write client script. Client script form. Now, first, how do you locate client scripts? Now, in system definition, you will find a module called client scripts. If you will click on that module, you will see list of client scripts which are being used in your ServiceNow system. If you have just get the personal developer instance, as of now you have not customized anything, then you will find all the baseline client script. That means in order to build ServiceNow system or all the modules they have created some baseline scripts. So that you will find when you will go to system definition and client scripts. And this is the form on the screen. You can see it says client script. It's a new record. It has some fields, and it gives you an opportunity to write the script as well, which will run on your form. So let's talk about client scripts form fields. What are the different fields? What are their utilization basically? Why we have those fields on the client script form? So client script form fields. The first field we have is name, which will mention the name of the client script. So when you will create client script, you will just mention the name, any name you want. Your name should always be unique. So if you are writing a client script for different tables, so it should be unique. One more, I would say, recommendation which I want to give is always try to use your organization's name as a prefix, because you will have multiple client scripts. So in order to differentiate the client script's name, that what scripts are baseline and what is customized, then with the help of the prefix, you can know, okay, this is customized and this is the baseline script. So if you're part of any organization, try to just use that prefix in the beginning. Next field we have table. Table is the table of the form on which client scripts needs to be run. So for example, you want to show something or run this client script on incident form, then you have to select incident table. If you want to run this client script on change table, then you have to select change table. So any form you want to manipulate or you want to run this client script, you have to select that table. Next is UI type. On what type of UI it should run. So you have to select, there are some options like desktop, mobile, or portal, or both. That's what that's kind of options you get in this UI type. So for example, your users might use this form or might open this form on your mobile as well or on your desktop as well. So you can put that option whether you want to run this client script just on your mobile or portal, or you want to just run this on your desktop when user is opening the ServiceNow in just desktop. That kind of option ServiceNow is giving you, because it might happen that there are some functionalities or there are some scripts which you want to run on the form just in mobile maybe, or maybe sometime just in desktop. So it's up to you as per the configuration. If you want to run that functionality every time, then you have to select both. Then we have type of the client script. Now, ServiceNow provides 4 types of functionality in client script. Now, client script has 4 types, that is OnLoad, OnChange, OnSubmit, and OnSellEdit. These are 4 types of client script, and we will talk about it later. Then we have application. This is the scope of client script. Um, I think I have never posted any video related to scope. ServiceNow has, I think they came up with, I don't remember the exact version, maybe with Fuji, they came up with scoped application. So as of now, it is global. Initially, I think in the beginning, everything was global, but now ServiceNow has come up with this scoped application as well. So now you have that option called application, and it says global. It's global scope as of now. If your application is running or your whatever table you have created, if it's in a different scope, then you can select that scope as well. If you want to run this client script in that scope, you can do that. But as of now, as an example, we will just show global scope. Next field we have active inactive. So for example, you created a client script, you got some error, and you for some time you want to deactivate that client script. So that is what it's just a flag for making this client script working or not working. If you want to make it working, you have to keep this active checkbox checked. If you don't want to make it working, you have to keep this checkbox unchecked. Inherited. If the client script should be extended. So for example, if you have any maybe you're running this client script on incident table, and there are some tables which are inherited from incident table. Or as an example, if you write this client script on task table, so now most of the tables we have in ServiceNow, like where we work as a task, they are inherited from task table. In that case, if you really want to cascade and extend that client script to other tables as well, you can just mention this checkbox. So if client script should be extended or not, you can check it. Then we have global. This is just for view of the form. So as you know, in ServiceNow, we have different views. Now, if you want to run this client script on a particular view, then you can mention that view. But if you want to make it as global, that whatever view user opens, it should run everywhere, then you have to select global. Then you have description field. Here, you just mention the description of the functionality of the client script, that what is the use of this client script. That's what you can mention. Um, eh, w- as I mentioned, when you put the name of the client script, you should mention somehow relevant to your functionality. As an example, set mandatory field or populate an alert when priority is P1, something like that. Its name shouldn't be that much long, but if you want to explain that, you can explain in description. Then you have messages. It is used to show message when client script runs. So basically, when your client script runs and you want to show some message, and you will put a method called get message, and then you can put the message here. It will automatically show that message. So you don't have to put that message in that particular parameter. You can use it directly from here. And the last field we have, which is the most important field of client script, that is script field. Now we are already talking about the coding, we are already talking about scripting. So here you will write your script which will run when different action, or basically it depends on the trigger. So if you will see the section, the above section, it totally talks about trigger, that these are the condition, not name, but all these things like table, UI type, then type, active or inactive. These are kind of triggers. But when you say script, it is just an action which will run. So if when form is loading, if your form is getting running the client script and it matches to the condition of this particular client script, then your script will run. So this is how this process works. So the above section is trigger, and the lower section is what have to be run. That's what you can mention over here, and that will run your script. Types of client script. As I mentioned earlier, there are four types of client scripts. One is OnLoad, OnChange, OnSubmit, OnSellEdit. Now, what are their functionalities? When exactly you have to select OnLoad, OnChange, OnSubmit, and OnSellEdit? So let's take a look. OnLoad. Now, a script will run when form loads and before control is given to the user. Now, if you want to run the script when your form is loading and you will give the control to the user before that step, if that is the case, then you will use onload type. It is used when something needs to be changed on the form while it is loading. So for example, if you're loading the form and if you want some action to be taken, then you will use the type as onload. Onload function will be automatically populated in the script field when onload type is selected on the form. I will show you later in my personal developer instance that how exactly it does that. OnChange. Script will run when value of any field is updated or changed. So when you want to run your script, if, for example, if any field is getting changed from an end user, if it is used to perform some operation as per the field changed, OnChange function will be automatically populated in the script field when OnChange type is selected on the form. It has parameters. So if you remember, in OnLoad, we don't have any parameter. The OnLoad function is just directly declared. That's it. It doesn't have any parameter. But OnChange function has some parameters, like you can see on the screen, that is control, old value, new value, is loading, is template. So these are some parameters. Now, what kind of like values these parameters hold? So control is the name of the field whose value is changed. So if you will use this control, then it will automatically pull the name of the field which is changing. That's what it gets the value. Then we have old value. Old value is a field which you are changing. What its old value? This old value parameter will hold that value. Then we have new value. New value, if user is changing to the new value, this parameter will hold that value. Is loading. Is loading will check whether your form is loading or not. That's what. It's just kind of a confirmation. It is telling you true or false. And then we have is template. It will check whether this change, whatever change I'm doing, is it dependent on the template that you can see with the help of is template. So it's just a Boolean value indicating whether the change occurred due to the population of the field by a template. That's what it checks. So these are all parameters of OnChange, and we will see practically in my personal developer instance. OnSubmit. OnSubmit is something when you submit the form. So script will run when form is submitted or saved. It is used to perform validations before form is saved. That's what you do. So for example, if you are done with the change on the form and you want to click on submit, and but you want some validations before submit, then you can use on submit. Now on submit function will be automatically populated in the script field when on submit type is selected on the form. Next is on SellEdit. Now, this uh, client script type is quite different from other three. Now, all other three client scripts type, they were for forms basically, when you work on the form. Now, this client script type is for list view. So script will run when a field value changes on list. So if your user is on the list and from the list view, if he changes maybe priority or maybe some other field, and you want to run some script, you want to do some, you want to perform some actions, in that case, you will use onCellEdit. OnCellEdit function will be automatically populated in the script field when onCellEdit type is selected on the form. Now, onCellEdit also has some parameters like sysids. So sysid of the edited item. So whatever item you are editing, it will automatically hold that value, that sysid of that particular record. Table, the table name of the edited item. Old values is the old value of the edited cell. New value is the value which your user is changing now. And then we have callback. A callback will continue the execution of other related SellEdit scripts. That's what we have callback. We will see the practical examples of all these types of client scripts. Practical lab and use cases. Now, before we talk about use cases, let me show you whatever we talked about these form fields, types of client scripts. Let me show you, give you a walkthrough that how exactly these options are visible on the client script form and how exactly you can use them. So let's take a look. This is my personal developer instance. So let me go to system definition. I will show you where we have this client script. So we have this here. You can also see it by typing here client script. It is under system definition. If I click client scripts, these are the baseline scripts. These one were created by me, but apart from that, all these client scripts are baseline client scripts. These are not customized client scripts. These are directly from ServiceNow. Now, if I click on create new, you will see the same form which we were talking about, that client script form, all these fields which we talked about. Now, the important thing which I told you, the table, if you click this button, you can select any table. If you select UI type, you can see desktop, mobile service portal, or all, that is both. And then you have UI type as on cell edit, change, on load, on submit. If you remember, we talked about that auto population of the function. So you will see here, if I select on submit, you will see this script field will automatically show the on submit function. You don't have to type that. If I select on load, it will show me on load. If I select on change, this will show me on change function automatically with parameters which we talked about. Now, what is this? We will learn it later. Then we have on cell edit. If I select on cell edit, you can see it changed the function and it became on cell edit function with those parameters. So this is how you see a client script, and you can create a new client script with the help of these types of client script as per your requirement. Now let's see our use cases. So I have mentioned 2 or 3 use cases due to which you'll be able to understand that how this client script works, that why exactly we create client script, and in what case, basically in what condition that you have to write these client scripts. So let's take a look. This is our first use case. Now in this use case, the requirement is that set the value of caller field with current logged in user when form loads. So as an example, if your client give you a requirement in which when an end user opens a ServiceNow incident form in order to submit the new incident, then it should populate the current logged in user, that user's name automatically in caller field. So that is the requirement. How exactly we can fulfill these requirements? We will take a look. Light, camera, action. So the first use case is set the value of caller field with current logged in user when form loads. So it is one of the requirement in which your client says that light, camera, action. This is the first use case of client script. So the requirement is that we have to set the value of caller field with current logged in user when form loads. So for example, if you have an end user and he clicks or create new button and form loads, then his name should be automatically populated on caller field. As of now, this functionality is not given out of the box. So let's take a look. This is our personal developer instance. I will click on create new. If I click on create new, you can see caller field is not automatically populated. So the requirement is we have to populate it automatically if I'm clicking on a create new button and form gets loaded of incident. So what I will do, I will go to client script. I will create a client script. So in order to fulfill this requirement, because this functionality is related to client side requirement, then when form loads, I have to push some value. In that case, I will put set caller. So this is the name of the client script. Table is incident because we want to show it on incident form. UI type, we can keep as of now desktop. Type, now when exactly you want it. Now as per the requirement, it has to be OnLoad. So I'm selecting OnLoad. Now you can see the function OnLoad automatically populates here. So this function is already there. We don't want to put description for now, but if you want, you can do that. So what I'm going to do here, I will first create a variable which will capture the value of current logged in user sysID. And how exactly we can do that? You can do it. So just create any variable you want. So I'm creating a user variable, and then I will put g underscore user dot. Now this is the API method which you have to use, that is g underscore user dot user ID. When I press tab, it will come over here. I will put semicolon, and here I will put g underscore form. Now we have to set some value in a caller field. For setting a value, ServiceNow provides an API with g underscore form. There's a method called set value. And you can read sets the value, and the display value of a field will display value if there is no display value. So it sets the value on a field. So I select set display value. The first parameter which I have to select is field name. So what I can do, the field name is caller ID. Now this field name is not label name. This is the column name basically. Yes, the real name, the backend name I would say. You have selected caller ID, and then I will push user because that's a reference value. So we can push sys of the user, the current logged in user. Now that g underscore dot user ID will give you the sys of the user. So if I will make a comment here, get the sys of the logged in user, just to help you. Now here I'm setting the value. I'm putting the semicolon, setting the field value. I'm just adding the comment. I think it's the best practice of scripting. And I'm clicking on save. So you must have seen earlier that when I was clicking on new button, it was not pushing that value in caller field. But now when I will click on this create new button, you will see, yes, it is automatically populating the system administrator because I'm logged in as a system administrator. That's the reason it is pushing system administrator's name. So if any of the user will open this form, his name will be pushed automatically here. Now there's still a tweak here, that this functionality we have written, it will run in every case. That means, let me show you an example. These are all existing incidents. You can see currently David Miller is the caller for this incident. So it means that they will call David Miller must have called for creation of the incident. Now, if I'm clicking and opening this incident, what it will do, you can see it changed the name. That means that is a kind of a bug, because you are changing the client script. You have created a new client script, and it is automatically pushing as per the script you have written. Now, what should be the best thing so that it doesn't do this particular operation for all the existing incidents? Because as per the requirement, this should only happen when you create a new ticket. So in order to do that, we will go back to our client script. Now, the only option for this one is that this ticket is a new ticket. It's not a old ticket. It's not an existing ticket. In order to do that, what you can do is new record. So if when your form is getting loaded, if it's a new record, then only it should run. So if your form is a new, then it should run in that case. So g underscore form API also gives you method called is new record. Okay, so if this, and I will click on save here, and I will go to my incident. So here we have David Miller, because now you have to like remember one point. We are just pushing the data from the client, from the browser end. It has not been saved yet. Yes. So it's not something that if you're pushing something from client, it will be saved automatically. No, you have to save it. So I'm opening this incident now. This time it will not push the data. Yep. So form has already been loaded, and you can see it is not pushing system administrator. That means the current logged in user name now in caller field. And the reason behind it, because we used that new condition that if this particular form load is a new record, if this form is new record, then only it would push that data, else not. So this is the first use case of client script. Let's talk about the second use case. Show an alert when priority of the incident changes to P1. In this use case, the requirement is that if user changes the priority of the incident to P1, then it should show an alert to the user that you are going to submit the P1 incident, something like that. That kind of alert message can be different as per the requirement, but this is what we want in this particular situation. Now, how client script can fulfill this requirement, let's see that. So I'm opening my personal developer instance. Now in this case, I will show you first whether it is showing that message or not. So if I click on existing incident, and this this functionality has to work for both the situations, even for new incidents, even for existing incidents. So currently the priority is P4, and if I am changing it to P1, it is not giving me any error. And as you know, that priority is read-only field. It can only be changed by user with impact and urgency combination. So if you are selecting impact and urgency is high, priority would be critical. In order to show that alert, I'm going to create client script. This is the set caller example which we use. So I'm going to create a new client script. And I can just mention alert on P1. It will run on desktop type in this case. Now this is something change of the field. So if user is changing a field, then only you have to run this script. You have to show that alert. In that case, you will not use onload, you will select OnChange, because user is changing something. So what happens when user like perform some changes on the form fields, then what action you want? This is the one of the situation. Now, when you select OnChange type, it will automatically populate a new field called field name. So you have to select the field name, then what field this change should run. So I have selected priority. Now, as we talked earlier, that you can see that function of that particular type will automatically populate, but in an on change case, you must have seen some parameters which we talked about earlier, like control, old value, new value. And this is also the condition which we have. Now this condition automatically gets populated with the function, and the reason it just says that if is loading, so form is getting loaded and new value is empty, so we don't have any new value when somebody is changing. In that case, this will not return anything, so nothing will happen. But while you are changing something, as in the same go, you also want to put some action on the loading, then you can utilize this, else not. And apart from that, you will write your code right from here, not in that particular section. You can leave. But if you really want to, you want some action in loading, then you can do that. So in this case, we want to show an alert if priority changes to priority 1. So how exactly we will do that? We will just write if new value. Now new value holds the new value which has been changed to. So maybe initially it was priority 2, now it has become P1. Whenever new value will have that 1 as a value, then only it should work. So new value, we will select the backend value, that is 1. So if new value is 1, then we'll put alert, and alert would be you are going to submit P1 incident. The current priority of incident is, now here you can put the value, and that would be old value. So old value, this parameter already holds that value. So you don't have to declare a variable or something. You just need to put that old value and it should work. So semicolon. So we have this script and I'm going to save this. So if I go to create new, so currently the priority is P5 basically, but if I change it to high, yep, you're going to submit P1 incident and the current priority of the incident is 5. Now why it is showing 5? Because it is holding the value of that particular field. So if you want, you can also display the like display value, that label name, but you have to do some other like coding. You have to get that value. If that is 5, then you can populate it as well. So this is the use case in which you can show an alert with the help of client script. Let's check another use case we have. Set an alert on submission of incident. So in this use case, if I'm submitting an incident, I should get an alert. So let's take a look. This is my personal developer instance. I am creating a client script. Alert on submit. I will make it as on submit and I will just put alert and I will type here, thanks for creating an incident. This will be assigned to service desk. Just a message we want to populate to the user. So I'm just saving this. Now I'll go to here and I put a test and I click on save. When I'm clicking on save, you can see it says, thanks for creating an incident. This will be assigned to service desk. And I click on OK, and then that particular form is saved. Now let's see what happens for existing. So I'm here right now and I'm clicking on save. If I'm clicking on save, now this is the difference. You can see that I'm still getting that alert because you have not put in some condition whether the submit is just for new record or existing record. So as of now, it is taking for every situation. So submit is whenever you are saving the form, then it will take it as a submit. So don't be confused. So submit is just like a save, but it's whenever you are saving the record, you are submitting the form. In that case, you want to put something, you want to put some validations. In that case, you can utilize submit. As I mentioned in my session, that submit is basically used for validations. So before submitting the ticket, do you want to check some validations? Do you want to do some validations on the form so that you alert the user that, hey, you did not fill this? It is similar to mandatory ideally, but it might happen that sometimes you want to check some short descriptions maybe or some other fields. You want to put some kind of validations. In that situation, this is being used. This is about on submit. So these are the three use cases of client script. I'm going to post second part of this client script in which I'm going to talk about G underscore form and G underscore user methods and APIs we have from ServiceNow. So thanks for watching my video. Have a wonderful day.